Oklahoma going into 2025 is going to be a very interesting team. We've talked about this, and again, like I said, I am tired of predictions. I'm tired of going through these predictions and having to talk about a lot of stuff. So at least that executive order gave us something to talk about tonight. But getting into the 2025 schedule for Oklahoma, when I look at it, I'm trying to come at this with the most unbiased opinions on these games as I possibly can. And so I was trying to crunch numbers, trying to do a lot to go into this. First game, August 30th against Illinois State at home. I think it's easy. I don't even have to pretend like I'm biased or anything for this game, or pretend that I'm not biased is what I should say. Illinois State, obviously, big-time win for Oklahoma, right? I would expect Oklahoma to hang 60 points. And if there is any scoring on this, it's because there was some junk play that happened when the third string was in garbage time, and maybe they score. Man, don't let up. Even if we've got our third string, fourth string in, you can't allow Illinois State to score a touchdown, a field goal. So let's say they score 2 field goals in junk time, garbage time. I'm willing to concede that much. But, man, we ought to score 60 on Illinois State. So Oklahoma comes away with a win, 1-0. Obviously, an FCS team coming from the Missouri Valley Conference is not going to do much. And then on top of that, even in the Missouri Valley Conference last year, Illinois State went 6-5. So, you got to just have a crazy amount of yardage and scoring in this game. Easy one to call. That's a win. I'm going to throw this up on the screen as well, so you guys can see this as we're going through, seeing the OU schedule there. A little graphic that I was able to put together for the show tonight. Anyways, September 6th, week 2, game 2 for Oklahoma at home against Michigan. This is a big game, okay? And I kind of mentioned this before when kind of going through the schedule. But for Oklahoma, this is a big game, okay? This is the first test for them. It's a big-time matchup against a big-time team, really a perennial Big Ten team. They're one of those teams that's always going to be in the discussion, always going to be in the contention for the Big Ten, and obviously in the last several years have been like the team in the Big Ten, beating Ohio State for the last four years. Is that right? 4 or 5. So, I mean, Michigan's going to be a tough team for Oklahoma in week 2, game 2. It's going to be interesting, and I think that this is an important game for Oklahoma. But here's why I say that this isn't the most important game for Oklahoma. I think it's a very important game to see what Oklahoma's made of. If that Oklahoma offense can click against Michigan and they score more than 25 points, you feel really good about the offense, and I think that says a lot about what this team is capable of going into the rest of the season. But if Oklahoma wins a tightly contested game, let's say 28-24, something like that, 28-20 even, if it's not double digits and it's not like the offense looked tremendous in that game, then I think, and if the defense is allowing 20 points against Michigan, I'm not really sure how to feel. Maybe Michigan found it out on offense, because they do have Bryce Underwood over there. They also brought in Mikey Keene. So I think with the inexperience from Bryce Underwood, and the fact that I have heard some concerns about the Michigan's wide receiver room still kind of not doing so hot over there, I guess. There's a lot that goes into this. Michigan could be totally flipped around, and they're a really good team. We beat them 28-20, something like that, 24-28, something really close. It could come down to the last possession, and that could be you look back at the end of the season and say, man, that was a great win for Oklahoma. They beat a really good Michigan team that ended up going 10 wins, making it to the college football playoff. That could be the case. Or you beat Michigan, and you find out later on that they really didn't fix the things that they thought they were going to have fixed. Let's not forget Michigan only won 7 games a season ago. a lot of that very similar to what Oklahoma went through. So I think Michigan's going to be a good team. Okay, I'm not trying to say that Michigan's not going to be a good team. If Oklahoma beats them at all, it's going to be very big. And so I think this defense is what's going to be the main focus here on this game. It's going to be a defensive battle. I think Oklahoma wins this game. I really do. It could go either way though. So I could sit here and argue with a Michigan fan about who's going to win. I'm not willing to argue though because I'm not going to put money on it. That's for sure. And if you did, I think you'd be crazy too. This is just one of those coin flip games. Two teams that week one you're not going to know too much about because they're both going against a cupcake team. Week two is where it's all about, and you still don't know anything until even after this game. I don't think you truly know anything about these two teams unless it were to be a blowout one way or the other. So, anyways, I think this is a big game. I don't think it's the biggest game, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. So, Oklahoma starts off 2-0, beating Michigan and Illinois State at home. Then they go on the road, a little odd one here, going to Temple, an AAC team who finished 3-9, one of those 9 losses against Oklahoma last season. And so it was a big win for Oklahoma, but it was one of those wins that right off the rip, people were like, man, did that seem like this team was just a little vanilla? And I came out in defense of the program, and because I listened to what Brent Venables and the other coaches, Seth Ochell, I listened to what they said. Yeah, we didn't call everything. I mean, this is Temple. We don't want to call our entire playbook, and I believed it. I bought it. Anyways, Oklahoma going on to this next season, you would expect for them to have, like 400 yards passing if John Mateer were to stay in for an entire 3 quarters. I hope that this game is so out of hand that at halftime you hand it over to Michael Hawkins Jr. You hand it over in the 4th quarter, even getting, who knows, maybe Witt or Jet out there to play a little bit. I want it to be that far out of hand against Temple. Again, put 60 up. Don't allow them to score anything. That's what I want to see. So Temple 3-0, even though it's on the road, in a big time stadium. No, it's going to be an easy win. Should be an easy win for Oklahoma. So going on, this is the second game for Oklahoma, the second home game. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this game because again, it's a team in Auburn that I don't know what to expect. The more that I study Auburn, the more I kind of feel good about Oklahoma beating them. And so I ultimately, I feel Oklahoma's got the upper edge. I think Oklahoma's done more in the offseason to get better than Auburn has. I think Auburn will be much better this season than what they were last season. But this is Oklahoma at home, and Oklahoma's going to be way better than they were last season, in my opinion. So I'm going to count this one a win. Oklahoma starts off 4-0. It's going to be fun watching that quarterback come back into his old, his ex-team, his ex-home stadium to play against his ex-team. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of hype around that game. I'm excited. I really want to see what Oklahoma is capable of against this team because it's an Auburn team that's going to look different. They're going to be a tough defense. They have an amazing offensive line that's going to protect Jackson Arnold. They've got a good running back room. I don't have any concerns there, and some great wide receivers, probably better weapons than what Jackson Arnold had to deal with a season ago, and then obviously a better offensive line as long as they stay healthy. So yeah, there's a lot with this one that I look at, and I think Oklahoma is just the better team. It could be another very close game like it was last season where it comes down to one freak play to win the game. I feel like I give Oklahoma the upper edge here. Personally, I'm feeling a little bit better about them. I think that they can win by 10. They can win by 14 and a comfortable double digits, like a comfortable 10 points is what I mean by that. I don't know, though. It is a question mark, but I think Oklahoma wins, starts off 4-0. Going on to October 4th, here's a game that we shouldn't even have to discuss. Kent State at home. That's a win. Oklahoma wins, goes 5-0. If Oklahoma starts off 5-0, man, you already know this season is already better than last season. If they start off 5-0, it means that they beat Michigan and they beat Auburn. That's 2 wins that last season, man. You're really close to losing. You were really close to losing against Auburn. It took the defense to have a miracle with the Kip 6, and took really kind of an implosion on Auburn's offense for you to win that game. Although they did take it, they won that game fairly. But that's what it took, was some chaos, some Sooner magic to win that game. And then Michigan last season, man, Michigan Oklahoma would have been a very fun game to watch because other than the Ohio State game and that Alabama bowl game for Michigan, man, that Michigan team was just as bad as Oklahoma last season, which again, Oklahoma going against Alabama, that was the best they looked all season last season. But anyways, Kent State's easy win, pushes them to 5-0. That's where you start to really feel good. I think you're going to see the depth shining through Oklahoma's first 5 games, and starting to look good. Then you go on, and you got to watch out for Kent State in the sense that you've got to make sure you blow them out and feel good about yourself, but don't sit there and feel too good about yourself, because as soon as you win that one, you have the rest of that night to go feel good about yourself. But the next morning, you're preparing, because October 11th, you're going down to Dallas facing a good Texas team. I do have some question marks about Texas, and the more I look into them, I kind of scratch my head and wonder why they're getting as much praise as they get, because I feel like they have a lot of question marks that Oklahoma had last season. So it's something to look at. I still think Texas is going to be good. I believe Steve Sarkisian is going to have a good Texas team. This is a tough one for me to call, again, because I don't really know what's going to happen with Texas and how good they really are. They're going to boast a loaded defensive line. I know they added some big dudes over there in the transfer portal. I really think that Texas is going to be good again. And I know that they have Arch Manning over there. I don't really know what to expect from him either. I know Oklahoma fans hate to hear Arch Manning so going to be great. I agree with you guys. Okay, I don't like hearing it either. I think it's kind of premature, just because there isn't anything on his resume to say that. But you also have to recognize that they're just saying, hey, he comes from a family that this is what he grew up doing, man. Like, you do have to recognize that growing up in that family, you kind of get used to the pressure. And so I think that's what a lot of the talking heads mean when they're talking about Arch Manning this way. So I will say that I think Arch Manning will be just fine this season. So just because of my question marks with Texas, I don't want to say that I think we beat Texas, because I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game. Okay, I'm thinking, man, I don't know, 32-28. Texas edges Oklahoma again in a very tight game. And if you play tight in that, at least you feel better about that game than getting blown out. Oklahoma needs to win that one. Okay, I'm on board with you guys there. Oklahoma needs to win that one. That's a big game for them to win. Brent Venables specifically needs to win that game. So I hope they win it, obviously. But I'm doing predictions here, guys. This is preseason. I'm going to say loss. Right now, I will probably change my prediction 5 times before that game is played. But right now on October 11th, that's Oklahoma's first loss, which, hey, if that's your first loss and Texas is as good as advertised, you still don't feel too terrible about the team as a whole. You might be able to face Texas again later on in the season if you can keep on performing really well. But then after Texas, you go to South Carolina. And this is one, guys, this is a very tough couple of games. This is where this down the stretch, man, this gets very tough, because you don't have any kind of break. You go straight from Texas to South Carolina on the road. This is a tough one. I think South Carolina is an underrated team by some, an overrated team by others. Because of those who are talking about them and overrating them, it does make me question, man, maybe they're going to be better than I'm even expecting them to, because I think this is going to be a close game. And originally I would have said, I think this is going to be a close game, but Oklahoma wins. In prediction season right now, I'm going to say this is a loss on the road. Oklahoma goes down to 5-2. That's my prediction in this game right now, although South Carolina may not be as good as advertised, and Oklahoma ends up coming away with that one. Maybe they get ticked off that they lost to Texas the week before, if my prediction was right on that, and they come out and they whoop South Carolina. maybe that's the case. You also have to take into consideration that South Carolina will also be beaten up. I forget who it is. I think LSU the week before, if memory serves me correctly, for South Carolina. So maybe this is a game that Oklahoma comes out and comes away with. And I think my overall record in my head will stay true, because I think if they beat one, then I could also see a couple of others flipping, and I'll kind of talk about those as we go. But I'll say 5-2. Oklahoma loses to Texas, South Carolina. They bounce back with a win at home against Ole Miss on October 25th. Ole Miss, I mean, they just have some big question marks for me. What's the quarterback play going to look like with Austin Simmons? He's inexperienced. I'm curious to see what he does. I do have faith in Lane Kiffin that he's going to have a tough team. I just don't think, I think this is going to be a down year for him. I'm thinking like an 7 or 8 win season for Ole Miss. And that's not the end of the world for Ole Miss right now. Okay. I feel like Ole Miss is kind of in a building stage. And I'm really kind of looking forward to talking to an Ole Miss media person about this game, because I'm curious about how they feel about Ole Miss going into it, because I see some question marks. I see some question marks, and specifically how tough are your trenches going to be? How do you feel about Austin Simmons coming into the season with his inexperience? And knowing that Brent Venables is going to be throwing all kinds of crazy packages at him with blitzes to disrupt that young quarterback. And then, of course, you've also got to try to cope to a much tougher offense this season with Arbuckle's offense and John Mateer at quarterback than what you saw a season ago. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think Ole Miss will be good. I just don't think they're going to be good enough to beat Oklahoma at home. Again, this is a game that Oklahoma should have won a season ago. So I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give the edge to Oklahoma. I think a tough game, a very good game, and Oklahoma comes away with the win. Now at Tennessee, this is the one away game for sure that I know I'm going to. Already got everything booked, ready to go. And November 1st, my dad's birthday weekend, actually. So make sure to remember that and wish him a happy birthday. He's a Nebraska fan, but he's going to go to this game with me. My mom's an Oklahoma fan, so we're all going to go together. He's going to be cheering on Oklahoma, so you got to wish him a happy birthday for that, right? So anyways, this is going to be a fun game. Amazing atmosphere. Going to Knoxville for the first time since Baker Mayfield had the big comeback. What was that, a 17-point comeback, was it, or a 14-point comeback in the fourth quarter? 14 points, I think it was, because I think it was 17-3. And a big-time comeback, double overtime win. Sterling Shepard with an amazing game. Baker with an amazing game. Samaje Perine was tough and battled through some adversity in that game. Anyways, this is a new season, completely new teams, completely new regimes. This is going to be very interesting. Again, I think Tennessee, after Nico Iamaleava's departure and some of the drama that went on there, and then, of course, you had the Jeremy Pruitt issues that you had. I think that was last season. There's just so much that went on there. And then, of course, I think they don't. I don't believe they have Dylan Sampson. I might be wrong on that. I really haven't looked deep into their roster, but I know that I just don't feel like their offense is going to be as explosive. Personally, I just don't know how I feel about Aguilar. I really don't. And I don't think he's going to be performing as good as Nico. And I don't think Nico was really that good last season. And so I really don't think he's going to be a step up. I don't think he's going to be that much of a step down. I think Josh Heupel is good enough of a coach to get him in the right place. I just think Oklahoma will be the better team. That's ultimately what it comes down to. So now I believe this would make Oklahoma 7-2 on the road, beating Tennessee. So 2-2 in the SEC, 7-2 overall record now after beating Tennessee here on November 1st. Jumping forward to November 15th, so we'd have a bye week in between at Alabama, going to Tuscaloosa. And I know a lot of people think that Alabama's kind of on the downhill trend, as if they're just not going to be the same old Alabama because they don't have Nick Saban, and that Kalen DeBoer didn't really bring it last season. He ended up losing to Vanderbilt and losing to Oklahoma, and so it's the end of the world. You have to recognize this was a brand new for him to step into a brand new conference, a brand new program, everything so new around him. everything. The players had to adapt to him. He was throwing in a new scheme. His scheme really doesn't fit with Milroe's type. There's so much about Kalen Milroe that I respect from how he handled last season. And now you see where they're like, I'm pretty sure they're leading the nation with the most 5-stars signed in the 2026 class. So he's jumped back onto that recruiting trail and said, hey, listen, I know that I'm not Nick Saban, but I just made it to the national championship with Washington and held my own against some good teams through that season. That was the best season that the Pac-12 has had in over a decade, in my opinion, when Washington made it. Because you had Washington, Oregon, both contenders, like national championship contenders that year. You had USC at the top of their game. I believe they had a 9-win season that season. Oregon State was pesky. Washington State was pesky that season. Trying to think who else was in the mix. That was a good year for the Pac-12. Utah, obviously. So that was a good year for the Pac-12, and a Pac-12 that had some sneaky good defenses too. So Kalen DeBoer just has to say, hey, go back and look at the tape of what I just did a few seasons ago at Washington. I've got Alabama resources now. Look at what I'm able to do. And he's recruiting really well. I'm interested to see how good Ty Simpson is. From some of the reports that I've heard, I think Ty Simpson might be a step up from Jalen Milroe. Not necessarily that he's better than Jalen Milroe. I just think he fits this system better than Jalen Milroe. And so I'm excited to see what he brings. It's going to be a brutal road game in Tuscaloosa. I think Alabama wins. I don't think they're going to blow Oklahoma out of the water. I think Oklahoma's competitive in every single game. Whatever the record is, I think Oklahoma's competitive in every single game. But I think Oklahoma loses this one to go to 2-3 in the conference, 7-3 overall. They come back home the following week, and they face, they face Missouri. This one I feel pretty confident. Missouri got the best of Oklahoma last season because Oklahoma very much just, man, there was so much that they just threw that game away. Jackson Arnold's fumble there on the last, not the last drive, but right there at the end of the game. That was detrimental. It was such a back and forth game, but I think Bo Prabula is a little bit unproven, but I do think he's better than Brady Cook, although Brady Cook was very good. He fit into that system and did exactly what he needed to do. But they also got Ahmad Hardy, right? So, I mean, they add a good running back there. I think Oklahoma is the better team over Missouri. 10 out of 10. It's just, you're not going to win 10 out of 10. Last season, Oklahoma may not have even been the better team, but they still should have won that game. They whooped Missouri for so long in that game. They were getting manhandled by a backup quarterback. I will say that at times, but they were whooping them at moments in that game, and then they would just flip around where Missouri was whooping them back. The momentum changes in that game were just so crazy, and there was a lot that went into that game. Oklahoma should have never lost that game. That was absolutely a win last season if Oklahoma just pieces something together to complement the defense. The defense was so good, specifically in that first quarter, I think in the entire first half, if I'm remembering that one. And you have an offense that's able to complement your defense this year. So I don't think there's any problems there. I think Oklahoma wins that one, goes to 3-3 in the conference, 8-3 overall. Moving on to the last week. LSU at home, another game I'm very excited to go see because this is one that's on the calendar. I mean, it's going to be a big game. LSU, I think, is one of the best teams in the nation going into this season. That's what I feel. Again, that feeling might be wrong because we've seen that out of not just LSU but several other teams in the past. I think Brian Kelly also raises some question marks here and there. Ultimately, I think he's doing the right things at LSU. I think they're going to be better this year. I think Garrett Nussmeier, in my opinion, is the best quarterback going into this season, the most proven quarterback. Had over 4,000 yards last season, if I'm remembering that correctly. And they add some guys. Of course, you got Harold Perkins. I think he's going to have a better season, a breakout season this season. And I think there's just so much that team is so solid and so ready for this upcoming season. They may not end up being the best team in the nation in terms of what they end up how they end up performing and what they end up putting together in terms of their record. They may lose a couple games that they shouldn't have lost. I still think they're going to be a very good team and ranked up there with one of the best teams in the nations. in the nation. So I'm very high on LSU. I'm going to mark this one down as a loss. As much as I hate it, I'm going to mark this one down as a loss. I think LSU going into this season, I just don't know how you look at LSU and Oklahoma and say that Oklahoma is better than LSU. There's just so many question marks with Oklahoma. Now, again, as those question marks start to get answered, we're going to have a lot more confidence in how we're picking these games. Again, this is preseason predictions, how I'm predicting that Oklahoma is going to perform. I'm tired of prediction season, but I'm predicting Oklahoma going 8-4 overall, 3-4, 8-4. It's showing a lot of growth with this team, right? And I think there's a possibility for 9-3. You want my weird biased opinion? I have a weird biased opinion that Oklahoma is going to shock people and go 10-2, at least 9-3. And you know what? If I'm predicting 8-4 and I'm pretty accurate, that means there's a possibility they go 9-3. And 9-3 with this schedule is not a shoe in for the college football playoffs, but you're pretty close. So overall, I think that's something that Oklahoma can look forward to. So I think. I think it's going to be an interesting season. I'm going to predict Oklahoma's official record, my official preseason prediction, 8-4, just because I don't know if this offense is going to perform as good as I'm hoping, as good as I think they will. I just don't know. There's a lot of question marks for Oklahoma. You can come out here with confidence and saying that Oklahoma's going to be the better team. I don't know how Oklahoma isn't like a 10-win capable team this upcoming season with everything that we are hearing, everything that we see from them built in this offseason. But you haven't seen it on the field yet. So that's all I'm saying. That's why my overall prediction is 8-4, 3-4 in the conference, which I don't like that. No Oklahoma fans are going to like that, but I'm hoping for better. I'm hoping for better with you guys.